Bootstrapping SaaS companies. This video is going to show you how to do it. Bootstrapping is going and starting a SaaS software or tech company without raising any money and getting it to cash flow as fast as possible, and also building it as cheap as possible so that you get to the point where you're making money and you can keep all the equity for yourself and then use the money that you're making to build the company larger, or just take the money and use it to buy exotic tigers, whatever you want to do. I can teach you how to do this because of my 15 years of building SaaS companies. I have bootstrapped every single one of them. I built several to hundred thousands of dollars per year. I built a few to millions and millions of dollars per year, and I built one to $40 million ARR and a valuation of north of $200 million, which is Hyros. All of these bootstrapped, me keeping the entire equity of all of them and cash flowing them all extremely quickly. I've never been in a point where I had to take loans or raise any money to build my SaaS companies. Here's how I did it and how you can do it too. So when it comes to bootstrapping, the most important thing is that we get cash flow positive as soon as possible and build as cheaply as possible. In fact, it's possible to get cash flow positive before we even start building. Here is how. What we want to do when we start off this company, assuming that we have absolutely no money, we're going to talk about what to do if you have a little bit of money right now and you just don't want to blow it all, or you don't want to raise money and you want to use that money to start the software company. So the way that you're going to go and do this originally, if you're starting off without any cash flow, is we're going to be a agency or a service company that has a tool. And so what does this mean? What we want to do is we want to build our SaaS, but we want to run the SaaS for the user. We want to put the user on the SaaS and use the SaaS almost as like a tool for our agency. So for example, if we're building an app for restaurants, or we're building an app for organic dentists, we're always going to use that example on this channel. What we're going to do is we're going to get them on board and offer them the results of the app or service, and then we're just going to put them on the app ourselves. Why do we want to do this? And I will make this make more sense and show you how we turn this into an app or SaaS company later on. It's because we want to do two things. We want to be able to sell one-to-one to customers. We want to be able to sell high ticket up front, which is where we charge a lot of money up front. And we want to guarantee results. So let me explain these all from the get-go and how this ties into bootstrapping. So when we start this off, we don't want to do what most SaaS companies do. That's where you build a product before you have any customers. So you spend several $100,000, $30,000, $50,000, and we go and build an app before we have any customers whatsoever. In this video, I'm going to show you to build apps super duper cheaply as well. You don't want to build or spend several $100,000 building your first SaaS company. If you've already built a few SaaS companies, there's really no problem with that if you understand what you're doing. But when we start our company, we want to sell one-to-one because this is going to allow us to virtually have the highest ratio of closes and sell at the highest cash flow positive levels, or sell high ticket. Basically sell something that's very expensive so we have cash flow coming in first. And the reason why we want to sell as an agency / service is because when you're calling up potential businesses and offering them results, or you're hitting up businesses, or you're DMing people, one, your SaaS product is probably not going to work well enough to work as a SaaS product. What a SaaS product is where a person signs up and you don't really have to talk to them, or your customer support talks to them and sets them up, and then they run basically on autopilot from the SaaS, and you rebuild them endlessly to the end of time if your product works. That's what a SaaS is. When you first build your thing, it's probably going to be janky. It's not going to work very well. It's going to be very, very hard to use. It's probably going to break all the time, and it's not going to have features or things that the customer needs. They're not going to know how to use it. It's not going to be intuitive. It's just an absolutely diaper dumpster fire monster shit show. It's just not going to work. And so you want to be able to plug them in and give them the results from the software. On top of that, you want to focus on what is the main thing the customer is signing up for? Results. It doesn't matter if there's a software or not. The main thing is they sign up for the results and they keep paying for it. So it's actually possible to take your software idea, and let's imagine it's not a software yet, and you manually do all the things that your software does. You manually go and, for example, if we were doing something that increases the appointments for this organic dentist, say we were building them an AI agent SaaS, and we're building something that increases the phone calls for dental offices. Well, we don't want to go and build that entire thing before we know people actually are going to buy it and they're actually going to stay on and keep paying us for it. So what we could easily do is we could use a platform like N8N or Google Gemini's agents, or we could basically just actually go and automate everything with a spreadsheet. Just imagine anything that a software company does and imagine you doing it manually, whether it's following up with leads, I don't know. Just try to do it manually or use existing workflows and frameworks, or even just vibe code something just one-to-one for the customer to go and get them the result. And again, why is this okay? You might be thinking this doesn't even sound like software. It's because what we're going to do first off is make sure that we have cash flow coming in and that the customer is willing to pay for the result, and it keeps customers. We don't have to go and have thousands of customers to do this. We can actually do this one-to-one for a customer, just like an agency. And then what we do once they are paying us money is we take that money and we slowly convert it into an app that we introduce and start selling to customers. And as we go and start selling the app more and more, we slowly improve the app, the onboarding experience, to the point where a customer can sign up without talking to us one-to-one and fully set up, or speaks with customer success agents and they go through a deeper setup process, maybe with your developer and stuff. At the beginning, you have no team, you have no customer support. The product's not very good and it's very janky. Thus, we don't want to sell that. That's a bad customer experience. We want to sell a one-to-one white glove agency-like experience where we go and just do it for the customer. So this is why we want to be able to sell it one-to-one, because when you sell one-to-one, you're going to have the highest level of sales and you're going to be able to customize your offer and what you're doing and listen to the customer. When we're selling one-to-one and we're selling something like this, it allows us to sell something high ticket up front. So why does this matter? So when we originally were building Hyros, we sold it one-to-one to customers and we sold it annually up front. You couldn't go and sign up month to month. Now, why did we do this and why is this awesome? And why is this basically the best way to build a bootstrap company? So when you are selling high ticket one-to-one up front, here's a few things you're able to do. First, you're able to offer the whole done-for-you experience white glove. And you're basically selling a service or an agency. You're not selling a software. So this allows you to charge basically the max price. If your software is $300 per month, but it came with a full done-for-you setup team that basically guarantees results and guarantees success for what your software is going to do for the business, you're able to sell it at a year up front, no problem. So what we did at Hyros originally, and I didn't need to cash flow the business. I had lots of money coming in from my other businesses. But if I had to go back and start a business where I didn't have lots of money coming in, I would do this. A lot of my other businesses were SaaS companies at the time. I built a lot of micro mini SaaSes, which we will talk about in this video. But that required me to spend about $20,000 to $30,000 up front. And I don't think people really want to do this in this video. And I don't think that's the best way to go and do this, because they take time to build. You're not making a lot of money up front, especially if you don't understand how to grow and distribute it. It's just a lot better to do it this way. So when we were building Hyros, what I do is I would go and hit up info companies and companies that had call funnels. Okay. And so what Hyros does is essentially it tracks people's call funnels. It tracks their info marketing webinars. Now it tracks Shopify. It tracks basically anything right now. But in the beginning, what we were very good at is when people run ads on Facebook, what they can't see is usually the conversions, the calls, the sales coming in with any level of accuracy, especially if they have multiple traffic sources coming in. It just doesn't track these things very well. It especially doesn't track long-term revenue or closes coming from calls or repeat customers at Shopify stores. Anyways, when you plug this tracking into people's ads, whether they're a SaaS business, a Shopify store, an info business, they're going to see about a 15% increase in their ad revenue, almost guaranteed. That's actually why we have a guarantee at Hyros. If you don't see that, you don't pay for it. And we've been in business for almost half a decade now, thousands and thousands of customers across tons of famous brands. So it just straight up works. Now, because we have that guarantee, what we'd offer to do for these businesses is, let's say your business is spending $500,000 a month on ads. If we're able to increase that by 10, 15%, you're making $50,000, $60,000 a month more easy. Okay. We can easily bill $2,000, $3,000 a month for that. No problem. Especially if you go down the scale, maybe a business making $100,000 a month, $50,000 a month, we're able to bill $350, $500 a month from that. And if we can bill annually from that, that allows us to bill $3,500, $5,000, $10,000 up front for those packages that we just talked about. So what we do is I would hit up these businesses and they had this giant problem. I said, hey, we'll fix this for you. We'll build the tracking for you, white glove. You hop on for free. We'll show you that it works. And then once it's in growing your ads, you start paying for it. Now we could also, if we were really strapped for cash, just have them pay for it up front and just guarantee it. Now you might say, okay, well, with that guarantee, what if it doesn't work? Well, you really shouldn't be selling something that doesn't work. If you're trying to sell stuff that doesn't consistently work, I cannot help you here because your product sucks ass. So my first tip for you would not be selling ass suckage. If you're just connecting a pipe straight to someone's asshole and trying to feed it in someone's mouth and get them to pay you for it, that's probably not the best business model All right, straight up. Stop human centipedeing this stuff and actually make a good product. Okay, so that's addressed. Now, when we're selling it one-to-one like this, and we guarantee that problem, and we guarantee to do it for them, you might have noticed on that high-risk pitch right there, the software really wasn't part of the pitch. I did have a software at the time. I did say we are a software company, but there's two things I could have done at the time. One, if I didn't want to build the entire software app like we did with Hyros, what I could have done is I could have gone and built the tracking, putting a bunch of apps and stuff together and built it custom one-to-one for each customer. Okay, I could have done that right off the bat and simulated my software and simulated the results and experience. And when the person said, wow, I really like this, we could have then slowly started building the app with the money that was coming in from the service business. You see how that works? But anyways, we sold it basically as a service business. We told them we'd bring them on for free. We get them signed up. And I think that's the best way to sell your initial SaaS product or your service. Because if you can guarantee the result, it doesn't matter if they pay for it initially or not. They're eventually going to be paying for it because they're going to want to keep that result. It doesn't matter. So for example, at Hyros Air, which is our ARR remarketing agent, you slap it on a Shopify store, you slap it on a SaaS business, they get 3 to 5% more calls or revenue coming into their business. The end. Like that's it. And they don't have to pay for it until they see that coming in. And once the business, if they're doing 500,000, 100,000 a month, they're making 5,000, 50,000 extra a month in calls or revenue coming in. They're going to keep paying an extra $500 to $1,000 per month for it. It doesn't matter. Okay, so it doesn't matter if we build them up front. Still, if you have absolutely wild cash flow issues and you don't have any job or anything coming in, then yeah, of course, that's an option right there. But again, backing up to that. So at Hyros, we offered this one-to-one, and this allowed us to not only sell it at a subscription, but we sold it as an annual subscription up front, saying, hey, look, if we're going to have our team or our people come and set this up for you and walk this through and guarantee the results and make sure it works, we need to bill you a year up front so we can cover all the cost and make sure that you're committed to this. Does that sound fair? If it doesn't work, we will give you all the money back. Okay. Or we do that free offer. Those were the two ways to do this. You can't do that if you're not selling one-to-one. And what we did is we really customized each pitch to the client. Okay. You have an info business. You're tracking webinars. You're tracking sales calls. This is how we're going to track it. Can you see the results that you need right now in your ad tracking? No, you cannot. We're going to fix that. This is going to make you this much more. We're going to move forward with this. We're going to focus on your exact problem. That allows us to sell one-to-one, sell upfront, sell done for you, sell high ticket. Now, why does it matter if it's high ticket? Okay. So say I need $100,000 a month to build my SaaS company. I only have to close like 10 clients. So why does this high ticket have to do with bootstrapping? Well, say I needed like 30,000 a month to start my SaaS company. Say I need 50,000 a month. Reaching these numbers is really hard if we're selling a $100 a month subscription. We have to get a ton of customers. We can't interact with all the customers. We can't guarantee their results. However, if we're selling one-to-one high ticket up front, annually up front, okay, if I'm selling a $5,000 product, I need to get 10 customers a month to get the 50,000 a month. That's really not that hard. In fact, I could get initial 20 customers and go and make $100,000 and then use that to actually build the SaaS app. If I'm doing that service business kind of model right there. Instantly, I have cash flow coming in. When we were building Hyros, one of the big keys to it is we build annually up front. There was no way to get it without paying up front. And we were able to get people in, one, because it worked and it was a giant problem. And this is why you need to make sure you have product market fit. Watch my product market fit video that talks about how to find problems big enough that you can actually sell like this. If you're selling something that's a tiny little problem, like teaching someone's dog to do a handstand, that's not a problem they're going to pay you $10,000 to solve. No one's going to pay you for an app that organizes a refrigerator. They're not going to pay you 10 grand for that. There needs to be a problem that makes them money and fixes breakage in their business. That's why you need to focus on achieving product market fit in the video that I've linked below. It will also show at the end of this video. You don't need to watch it right now. You do need to watch it. Anyways, with this, we're selling $3,500, $5,000, $10,000 packages up front, mostly doing it for the customer. We plug them all in. And so this allowed us to get cash flow positive in the first month. And Hyros wasn't a cheap software to build. If we were doing this with a smaller software, I would have not built the software first, or if I had cash flow issues, I wouldn't have built all the software first at all. I would have vibe coded something that allows us to plug in tracking for the customer and kind of one-to-one build an app for each customer. And then I would have conglomerated all those apps all together into one app that was Hyros and then start onboarding people onto the app. That's what I would have done. Anyways, those are the two routes you can go. If you have money, you should go with the route I just talked about, where you kind of build the app first. If you don't have money, do the service-based business first. Now, finally, why do we want to sell like this? It's because we can guarantee results because we're doing it for the customer. Why is it so important that you guarantee results when you first start your SaaS? Because you need to be able to keep the customer's fucking money. You can't be cash flow positive if no one's letting you keep their fucking money or they're not giving you lots of it. So when we offer a guarantee, hey, it's $5,000 up front, but if it doesn't work, If it doesn't work, you don't have to pay for it. And then we're going to make it work because we guarantee it works because we're going to fucking do it for them. Okay. And so when we have that, we can ensure that the customer is going to be happy and we're going to be able to keep their money. All these things right here, you wrap this all together, it makes it much, much, much easier to get cash flow positive and run ads to your business, because each call that comes in isn't an extra $100, $200 a month coming in. It's an extra $5,000, $10,000 a month, or $10,000 a year coming in, instantly paid up front. So this really starts to stack in a way that's in your favor, because let's say you only get 10 5K customers a month. Totally doable. All right, totally doable once you're moving this and you have a service that works. Hell, I'll even say you're getting 5. Still totally doable. So this gets you 25,000 a month coming in immediately out the gates. And so you just get 5 customers every month. And in your first year of doing this, say you're getting 5 customers every single month, you're going to have 250K in annual recurring income that's going to be stacking up the next year. And so this model right here, one, can actually make you rich. We still sell annually up front. There's a reason why you see a lot of SaaS companies do these big contracts and deals, okay? It's this model right here. It makes everything so much easier when you're billing hugely up front. This is what HubSpot did to originally grow. Their numbers were not working very well because they were selling like $50 packages a month, $50 a month packages. But when they started going aggressively sales call oriented and selling a year up front, that's when HubSpot just went. All right. So understand that. And this just makes everything so much easier on the cash flow, because then you actually have this money coming in to pay staff, pay yourself a little bit, and cover development costs and everything else that's coming in. And it stacks on itself every single year. So even if you're not really growing, well, you do this, well, the next year you'll have 500K in MRR or ARR coming in. I'm going to get my MRRs and ARR statements confused many, many times in this video. So let's talk about who we're actually going to sell to. What we want to sell to is either enterprise, if you're really clever. This is the best way to go by far, but this is not accessible to most people because they think it's intimidating. I actually like selling enterprise. This is where the person is going to be giving you $10, $20, $50,000 up front. Now, is that the most accessible to a beginner? No, but let's say you're not a beginner and you're pretty good at selling and you're already good at building businesses. Most people that enter SaaS already have had some type of business experience. A lot of people don't just be like, hey, let's start a fucking software company out of nowhere. So I'm going to assume there's a lot of people in this video that have already ran businesses at a pretty high level. So why do you want to sell enterprise? Find businesses that are making $100 million per year and find something in that business that's breaking, that's losing them $1 million per year or could make them $1 million per year. Then fix it with a custom software solution or a custom development solution. That's not a service that everybody else is selling. Everybody is calling big SaaS companies like Lovable or big hotel brands like the Four Seasons or giant info brands like WAP or Tony Robbins. Everybody's calling them, trying to sell them agency, ad service, and everything. Very few people are calling them and offering custom software solutions to fix weird little problems in their business and their logistics and their tracking and stuff that they just don't have solved at all. So when you sell to these businesses, it's actually very easy to sell because you're selling something that is one-to-one to them that nobody else is selling. That's the beauty of SaaS. You can build a product based around a specific problem in their business that isn't solved, not a problem in their business that's solved by 1,000 other businesses. So businesses that make over $100 million per year, they'll easily pay you $50K up front if you solve them a problem that makes them an extra $250K a month. Okay, and this will cover their entire year. Then you can just get 2 of them and you can just focus on that. For example, Harvey is an AI agent app for law firms. And the first thing they went is they just started targeting the biggest law firms in America out the gate. And they just showed them that they could fix the problem with AI agents. And Harvey makes like $150 million a month. I think right now they're valued at like $7 billion. I'm not sure if they bootstrapped or not, but they got profitable very fast. That said, it's a perfect example regardless of just going straight to the enterprise level. Now, with the AI agent software that they built, they could have easily, for the first few firms, just built something custom. It's not particularly hard to build agents and train an LLM and do everything from scratch in your house. Like, you can do these things. And will that work at scale? Absolutely fucking not. Will it work for one customer? Yeah. And then you say, okay, what worked with this customer? What did they like? What did they pay for? How do we turn this into a software that is turnkey? Because what a software is, again, is let's imagine you build this service and it's a one-to-one service. What it is it's simply automating this service so it can be served to hundreds of people. That's it. Okay, so you build the service at first and you find a way to automate the service with software where the person, even down to the person signing up and doing it themselves. That's all software is. It's not building a software company just for the sake of software. It's turning a service Software as a service, where the name comes from, and it's something you can sell hundreds and hundreds of times effortlessly. There's no reason why you can't manually do the service the first 10 times, okay? So that's why you want to go enterprise first if you can. Next, if you're very new and you're just really intimidated by that, what you want to do is just go high ticket to businesses that make money. Okay, we don't want to be building some low level software. We don't want to be building a ClickFunnels. We don't want to be building a Go High level. I'm not saying these are low level softwares. I'm saying they sell in mass. Okay, day one strategy of these things was they sold in mass. If we look at something like Zapier, that was Bootstrap. That's a really hard example right here because Zapier couldn't go and charge, I don't know, $10,000 up front for their app. How Zapier originally started is they just hit up people and they said, hey, I think this connection thing would be good. You want us to do this for your business? They did it. They weren't charging very much. And they were paying themselves extremely little. It was still Bootstrap, but they were living off their savings doing this. And they eventually got enough customers doing that and enough people interested in it that they could build the app and go from there. Okay, they didn't have to go and borrow money to do that. Again, that's not optimal because they're not cash flowing super hard up front. So we want to sell to businesses that already have money coming in. Dentists, info businesses, agencies, construction companies. It doesn't really matter. Find breakage and then try and sell them something that's $5,000 up front. Try to get in this price range for an annual contract. Again, the $50,000 enterprise contract, $100,000, $200,000 enterprise contract, way better. Okay, if you look at the best SaaS companies right now, all they did is they just went enterprise from the get-go, and they just sold like $200,000 contracts from the get. All you have to do is get 5 customers, and your SaaS is at $1 million ARR. Now, easier said than done. You get it though. This is what you want to do though. This is why you want to go high ticket, and this is why you want to sell one-to-one, because if you're not selling one-to-one, you can't do this. Now, a few things you need to consider if you're bootstrapping SaaS right now. This is not 2010. A CEO, a product-focused and sales-focused CEO, which is what I am, okay? I don't code. I know how to code. I can code if I have to, but if your company is growing and it's at a high level, specifically if you already have money when you're starting your company and you just don't want to raise money, you can fund the company yourself like I do with my companies. It's good to know code and it's good to know how the development works. It's really not in your advantage to be a master coder because as a CEO, if you're spending 10 hours a day coding, you're not spending 10 hours a day being the CEO. Okay, so I think a product and sale focused CEO and a smart CTO, just as a two-man team, are fully capable of building a SaaS company from scratch right now. With vibe coding, with AI, I'm not saying you can build a full-fledged software with vibe coding. I'm not suggesting that at all. I am saying that a chief technical officer armed with AI and armed with this current ability to build software is fully capable of building a miniature SaaS app, not something where people sign up as completely turnkey, a Salesforce out of the box. I'm saying something that you could sell one-to-one and customize for customers. That's all. Okay. And so I think all you need to do is find yourself a CTO. And if he's willing to work off of equity at the start, well, you guys are good to go. Like, hey, we're not going to make any money up front, but we're going to keep all our equity and not raise money. You two can just get a massive amount of damage right here. As a product CEO, it is so easy to build websites now with AI. It's so easy to build promotional materials. It is so easy to start and make videos and sell. And you can just literally DM people if you're product is specific enough. You find companies that have breakage, like I talk about in my product market fit video, and you just message them and sell. If you are not a coding person, you're not a developer, you need to be just super fucking good at marketing and selling. The end. Okay. And then you'll evolve into product design and move from there. But this is where you need to be at. These are the skills you need to invest in. My skills are all in sales and product design. Then you find a CTO. Now, what you could also do if you want to be a real whiz kid is just learn the CTO skills and learn to develop yourself. There's nothing, especially if you're young, there's no downside to learning how to code and then learning how to code with AI. And the reason why you want to learn both is because when you're coding with AI, eventually you're going to hit bugs and you're going to hit things that the AI can't do. And then you're just completely screwed. And then when the database gets big enough, then you're still going to be completely screwed because AI is just not very good at large context building. Anyways, with AI though, with coding experience, you can build super fast and build incredibly fast and fix the problems that you run into with AI. So you could literally do both of these things. And if you go and learn code, the worst thing that's going to happen if you get good at it is you can go and get a $30,000 to $50,000 per month job just doing code. That's like the worst thing. So it's like giving yourself the best opportunity, period. And especially if you're learning in code in reference to building AI agents and training LLMs right now, you're golden, okay? Even if you fuck up this entire business thing, you're gonna have a good job somewhere. I guarantee it. Then you can also learn product and sales. I really think this combination right here, if you're brand new and just getting started, works. And if you already have some cash, you don't have to give a CTO tons of equity. You can just pay them. Okay. You still want to give them a little bit of equity, 2-3% of the company. Okay. Because they're going to be leading and building the team and everything. But this works great. This is a fantastic 2-founder setup. Works great for bootstrapping. You can move on there, and then you have your CTO go and start hiring the developers and everything else you're going to need after that. You hire the sales teams and hire the sales teams. This works great. This works great. And there's a ton of dudes out there that can code and develop, but can't sell or design products for shit. That would love to be CTO and love to start a company. So you're still golden right there. Now, here's another bonus tip I'm going to give you before we actually move to growing these companies. So I talked a little bit earlier before about mini SaaSes. So when I first got started, I didn't build like a Hyros or a large scale SaaS company. What I did is I built lots of miniature SaaSes for various reasons. If I could go and point out the benefit to this right now, it's because mini SaaSes are small softwares where the goal is to make 30, 50,000 a month profit. Not things you're going to scale to the moon, but things that are going to give you good cash flow. These are very easy to build and very simple to build. And what you need to understand is that as you get up the revenue tree, let's say we got 30K a month right here. Let's say we got $1 million a month right here. Let's say we got $5 million a month right here. The profit and the ability to generate profit gets harder and harder because more serious people enter the space who don't care about profit. And the best way to actually make money in SaaS is to grow your ARR while keeping customers and then make money off the equity. So for example, if you have a $1 million a month SaaS and it has a 1% churn rate, very low customer churn, and you're growing at 50% per year, you're going to be at a 10 to $50 million valuation, like crazy. Depends on the niche and everything you're in, but you're going to have crazy valuation numbers, okay? And that's just 1 mil a year annually, not 1 mil a month or anything like that. You're going to have crazy valuation based on that. So the real way to make money is to get something to $1 million per year with very low churn in a hot niche, and then you're going to have a crazy valuation off that. And you can borrow money against this valuation, or you could like even sell a little bit of the company. Say it's worth 20 million. Okay. You need cash flow to pay for the rest of your life. You sell 5% of the company for $1 million. That's how people make money in SaaS, and they're not focused on cash flowing. So as you get higher up the revenue tree, you run into that issue where you're going to be dealing with people that don't care about cash flow. You care about cash flow and paying for your life right now. So at these levels right here, you really don't have those type of savages, and you're going to be able to go and draw profit from your company without having to worry about being outcompeted. So when you're first building this, it's really almost better to build little miniature software companies. Now, I built these things because I was just a greedy little goblin and also didn't understand how to build big things or think like this. I wish I had earlier on. I'd be so much richer. So I built a lot of these little micro SaaSes at 30 to 50K a month, mostly profit, like 80% profit margins. And I built like 6 of these things, and I was generating 400K a month from these. So these are all bootstrap little dinky things too. And this was really cool because then I could cash flow this into Hyros, which was the big swing, and then use that to fund Hyros. Now, if I had to go back and build Hyros from scratch, I'd use the method I just showed you. And with these companies right here, I would have tried to actually turn one into a bigger company. It was all just a giant mess. This is not the most opportune way to build things. I'm saying if you're getting started, think about your goals. My goal is to become a billionaire. I want to get Hyros to $10 million per month. I want to be at $100 million a year. Okay, that's my goal. That might not be your goal. Your goal might just be to pay for your house, kids, and I don't know, hang out and go fishing. I don't know. So you need to think about what you actually want to build. And there's nothing wrong with when you're getting started building micro SaaSes first. They're not going to be the next Facebook, but they're going to make you money. And then once you get comfortable building these smaller softwares that are, in my opinion, I think the best way to build is the one-to-one client software. So let's say you just get 30 clients in the software at $1,000 per month, something like that. I think that's way better to go than getting 1,000 clients at $30 per month, which is what a lot of people try to do. And this is what I actually do with my first softwares. That's really shitty because these people, when you're doing mini softwares and you have a lot of customers, the software, if you're not doing it for and managing it for the customer, it's just not good enough to keep customers. So even if you get the 30,000 a month, you're constantly going to be losing 10% of your user base every single month. It's just not going to work. You don't have the cash flow or anything to build something really good that's completely turnkey. Whereas if you have 30 $1,000 a month customers, you can work with each one, know every single each one of them, build custom things into the software for them. It just works so much better that way. And you can kind of clone that out, and you could actually umbrella all the mini SaaSes together. This is going to get you really good cash flow that if you want to go to the next levels to build the big thing, you can then cash flow it from there. That's what I did. In a little bit more wing-dingy of a way, if I could go back in time, this is what I would do. I would go and start the mini SaaSes, but not with mass customer focuses, more one-to-one. Get 30, 1,000 a month clients on there or more, something like that. And then what I would do is use that to cash flow my main business. And the reason why you want to build multiple of these things is because, like I talked about, once we get to the point where a business is making 200,000 a month, you start running to the point where you actually need to start really investing in the business to keep the customers. And because it's going to become more loose touch, you're not going to be interacting with the customers as much. You really have to invest a lot in the product because you can't control the experience like you could if you have the lower customers. So what you could do, which is better, is you build a lot of these smaller ones. We don't have to run into these companies that aren't focused on profit. You can work with the customers more one-to-one and keep them. And you can actually build several of these. So say instead of going and building one giant company, you build 3 to 4 of these things, all at 80% profit margins. This is how you keep incredibly high cash flow while scaling your revenue. If you get one of these at 250,000 a month, I guarantee you someone's going to say that business is making 250,000 a month and they're taking 80% profit margins. We'll just make 20% profit margins, get to 250K a month. Our business will be worth many $million dollars, and then we flip the business or take the money from the equity. You're going to run into that situation every single time because a lot of people start thinking in terms of equity as the money starts getting serious. So for example, like at Hyros, just to put this really into perspective, at 40 mil ARR, what I could do is I could easily get it down to like 80% profit margin and just pocket $30 million a year, just right in my pocket. If I do that though, my software is not going to be very good. Okay. It's not going to be investing. And someone else is going to be like, hey, we can get ours to 40 mil ARR and then put 40 mil ARR back into it to get to 80 mil ARR. And at this rate right here, our company at a 8x valuation would be worth $640 million. And then if we want to buy a golden yacht, we can just borrow, $50 million from that. And that's how we'll make the money right there. Okay. And so frankly, Hyros is very profitable right now, and it's kind of against my will. We just are a very efficient, lean company. I want to build it kind of like Valve, which is just massively profitable per employee. That said, the easiest way for me to make $100 million isn't by going and cash flowing. Let's say I got this to 20 mil a year. This is just a quick little cash flow lesson right here. 20 mil a year. At even before taxes, if I wanted to make $100 million, I would have to go and do this for 5 years at this rate. No. So at $40 million valuation right here, even on the lowest end, Hyros is valued at about $200 million. So if I want to go and make another $200 million from this, an easier way for me to make another $100 million would just be to go and take Hyros from 40 to 60 as fast as possible. And that's going to add another 100 million, 150 million to my net worth easily. And then the easiest way for me to make another 100, 200, 300 million is to take it from 60 to 80. And so there's no real reason for me to be drawing cash from this right here because this takes forever to make 100 million. I have to wait 5 years. I could just go in 1 year, increase Hyros by $20 million by investing all the money back into it and increase my net worth by $100 million and then borrow equity, take it public, all those things. So the fastest way for me to make a lot of money isn't to actually take money from the company. It's to grow the company. That's why SaaS is beautiful because once you get to the point where you're growing the company, the bigger it gets, the higher the multiple on the business, especially with low churn. So if you take a business and you're at 10 mil ARR, your multiples are going to be like 5, 6x tops. But if you take a business to 100 mil ARR with low churn and you do it fairly quickly, your multiples are going to be 10, 15. And so at 100 million, you're at about a $1.5 billion valuation. This is where the sauce is at. So you make more money growing faster and keeping your customers than you do actually taking money out of the business. This doesn't always apply to other business models. This is why SaaS is one of the best business models out there. You do this in e-commerce, your multiples just suck ass the entire way up and your profit margins suck ass the entire way up. So this is why we like building our little gizmos. Anyways, I want to give you a few last tips to this and why this works really, really well. All right. So first thing, how do we get growth after we grow the business? So again, this model I showed you is designed to work with ads. The way we started getting our next customers at Hyros once I stopped DMing people was just ads. Now, if you're running ads, you have to understand that if you're selling a $100 a month subscription, your conversions on the front end of the site from the ads are going to be very low, because getting someone to sign up, put their card down for $100 a month, and actually get to the point where they use their software is actually extremely hard. Not only is the sales process to get a $100 subscription down extremely difficult, like the conversions are very low. Getting the person on the point to where they actually use your software completely and then stay on your software, that's a whole other point. So you're going to have like 5% conversion rates, and because your software is new, the amount of people that sign up, you're only going to see like 20% of them actually use the software if your software is perfect. So it's just like fucked. However, if you run ads to a call funnel for your software where you do this one-to-one selling, you maximize the amount of money coming from the ads, and you get it all up once up front instead of getting it month to month, which then allows the ad to be super profitable. Let's imagine you're selling a $350 a month subscription and your cost to get a phone call is $500, and only 30% of your customers on the phone calls convert. That's usually what our phone conversion rates are at Hyros. This doesn't really work out because every phone call is just, the math's terrible. At $500, we're paying $1,500 for a conversion, essentially, at 30%. However, if each conversion is worth $3,500, we're making money on our ads. This makes it very easy to run ads to get more customers in and start building word of mouth. This is why we want to structure our business like this, because then we can run ads or pay influencers or buy advertising very efficiently. It allows us to maximize the customers coming in. And the call funnels and selling over the phone in SaaS, which I'll give a script on how we do this here shortly on the channel, you should subscribe, is the best way to do this. So one, this is how we can grow. Now, the other way we grow is putting distribution into our software. Now, if you're cash flowing a company, there are ways to distribute your software. So for example, if you look at Zapier, they had one of the best distribution models ever. They got businesses that were on Zapier to post their businesses on Zapier and then share it because they wanted other people to use their Zapier links. Okay. If you look at Go High Level, which is kind of like ClickFunnels, but for agencies, what they did is they made their main customer agencies, and then they allowed the agencies to white label the software, and then the agencies sold the software for them. So getting in clever distribution systems like that, incredible way to grow the company for free. So think about that. But the best way to also grow your company is word of mouth. Duh. But let's actually look at what word of mouth is. You need to make your product so good that when you get one of your customers on, they tell other people about the product. That sounds very simple, but most people don't actually do this. They make a product that's okay, and then nobody tells anybody about it. At Hyros, we made sure every customer experience first on was so good that they left a testimonial, and then we advertised those testimonials, and we also gave them, there's an affiliate program, but people liked Hyros so much that they told other people about it. And then we got more customers for free. And at this point, you have to understand, and SaaS, most of your business needs to be organic. If you look at where your sales are coming from, it should come from people Google searching your business. Now, when you first start off, that's not going to happen a lot. But on your second, third, fourth year, if it's not happening, your business sucks ass, dude. Like, it's not good. You need to have something that starts being well-known in the industry as the best place to go, or you don't really have a business. So when you're making your business, focus more so on making your customers super duper happy, making the experience so good that they tell other people about it. And that's how your business is going to naturally flywheel. Say we're doing this ad and cash flow focused system. Well, if we're going out there and we're getting just 30 customers a month, but each of those customers tells one other people about it, we're actually getting 60 customers a month. And then those 60 customers turn into 120 customers a month. That math right there is horrid and it doesn't really make sense. I get that. But you understand that for every customer you get, you're going to get 2-3 more customers. This makes this cash flow ad system that I gave you, even if we're going and breaking even doing it, we're actually growing because every customer you get in is eventually going to turn into 2 more customers. So just focus on making the experience super good. So this happens, and this is going to end up flywheeling where your first year, yeah, it's not that important, but by your second year, let's say you have 100 customers, all 100 of them will probably have gotten you at least 1 more customer. Now you have 200 customers. Those 200 customers will probably get you 1 more customer, so on and so forth. Now, finally, another distribution engine I'm going to talk about, but I don't really like, is content and media. These are all free or ways to grow your company that pay for themselves if you haven't noticed yet. So a really good example of this is Blockworks. They made a huge blog and news site based around crypto for institutions. And they made a lot of money doing that. They basically made a media company where they made content on crypto. Then what they did, once they had the content media flowing, what they did is then they attached a SaaS to it. If you look at SEO Moz, this was an old SEO company that had a SEO software. They had an SEO blog that they made really popular, and then they attached the software to the blog. So going and making content, making YouTube videos, making a news source, and then attaching a SaaS product to it also is a fantastic way to grow your company. I don't like this because I don't like content as a strategy to grow your SaaS company. I'm making content right now in SaaS because some of our best customers at Hyros are SaaS companies. Seriously, you cannot track calls, you cannot track MRR, you cannot track LTV back to your ads without Hyros. It just doesn't happen. And so you can't run ads for your SaaS company without Hyros. You should use Hyros for it. It's going to make you tons of money. That's why I'm making these videos, because you're going to watch these as you're building your SaaS companies and think, I would like my ads to make money and to grow my company with ads. You're going to use Hyros. If you want more people coming to your site and booking calls and coming back to your site, AI agents that reach out and bring these customers back and get you more calls for free, you're going to use Hyros Air. So this is why I'm making this content for you. Now, I don't like this as the main distribution model. This is a nice icing on top of the cake. It shouldn't be your main thing, because creating content is hard. I've been doing content for almost 15 years now. So naturally, it's easy for me. If you're just starting off, this is your first time building a SaaS company, you really don't also want to be trying to be an influencer at the same time, but it does work. Okay, it does work. This is why signing up an influencer to be one of your founders is also kind of a hack. Okay, so you can consider that. I think signing up an influencer when the business is already growing. So for example, Sam Ovens brought on Alex Hermosi for a good chunk of school. It's no secret. And if Sam had brought Alex on very early on, he probably would have had to give Alex like almost majority of the company. That wouldn't have been great. But because he got school to a point where it was working, all the numbers were working, the flywheel was going, I was able to get Alex on at a reasonable cost. I'm not going to get into the numbers of that deal. That's not my business to share. But he was able to get it at a place where he didn't have to give his entire company to get Alex on. So I think being the influencer on after the product's already working, much better idea, because then you have the flywheel already spinning, and then the influencer sends people into a flywheel's already getting customers. But to start off, having an influencer to start, or if you're an influencer already, you already have a business where you make videos and stuff, this also works as well to get your first customers. But you have to get back to the core basics of selling one-on-one and making sure the product works. I'm sure you've seen so many influencers start businesses and SaaS businesses, and then a year later, the SaaS business doesn't exist because they haven't done the initial stuff I talked about in this video or achieved product market fit that I'm going to talk about in the video that's linked below here, and you can see here very soon. Okay, so the final thing I'm going to tell you is the only thing you really need to worry about is retaining customers and making sure they're happy. I've already tapped on this and it seems so basic, but if you get 30 customers in your first year and all 30 stay and then all of them refer another customer, your life is super easy at that point. You could ignore marketing, you could ignore branding, you could ignore anything else. And if you just have this right here in a phenomenal customer experience, your life is super easy. If you build a SaaS and then you get it good enough that, okay, sure, you're only getting like 100 customers in a month, but 99% of them stay for years, you don't even have to do anything marketing wise or content wise or distribution well. You just have to keep running the ship the same exact way, and it just stacks on top of itself, and it snowballs as more and more customers refer each other. If you look at Zapier, you look at Slack, you look at Dropbox, you look at all the best companies out there that have grown a lot recently, you look at Cursor, like they're not spending money on marketing or anything like that. You look at Gamma, which has recently hit $1 billion valuation, no marketing, they spend no money on marketing at all. It's just this fucking thing right here. And so make this your focus when you're bootstrapping, not marketing, not getting more customers, not even getting more cash flow. And once you get enough cash flow coming in and it's good, focus on retaining the customer, even if you have to break even for a couple months or lose money. Okay. Just save up the money, invest in the retaining the customer. This is how you build a really big customer long-term. If you are building these little mini SaaS apps, which I'm going to talk about in the future video, they're making 30, 50K a month. Sure, you can cash flow them at 80%. My advice to you is once you get good enough to do this consistently, try and build something that makes a lot more money, and then try not to cash flow it so hard, because the way you're going to get really rich is through equity and building something big. Again, if you just want to make a couple $100,000 a month, $150,000 a month, $100,000 a month, there's nothing wrong with just doing this. It's just hard to maintain because the softwares aren't very good, and eventually they're going to get eaten up by something. And it's a messy business, and it's not something you can sell and eventually quit. And it also sucks limiting yourself to these things. So this works. You can make a lot of money doing it. You can make millions of dollars a year doing it. I think you can go for a little bit bigger. So this is my entire guide on bootstrapping and everything I think about when it comes to bootstrapping a business and all the technicals behind it. So watch our product market fit videos. And if you want to see how to actually start a company from scratch and like the things you should solve, how to build the company and start growing it, how to retain customers, watch this video right here on how to build a $1 million SaaS from scratch. Both of these are going to give you tons of information just like this. This video focused exclusively on bootstrapping. This one's going to tell you a little bit more about how to actually start the company. This one right here is going to tell you how to achieve product market fit. There's also a video link below in the description of just 52 minutes of everything I've done in 15 years and just general tips that should help you and show up in your bottom line and building your SaaS company. Kind of more for an experienced founder. Check them all out. If you want to run ads for your SaaS company, you should fucking be using Hyros. You're insane. You can literally go sign up for Hyros right now. We guarantee that you're going to be able to grow your ads. You're going to be able to track everything way more profitably and attribute it back to your ads so you can grow your ads and make more money from them. And you should have Hyros Air on your site because we'll reach out to people that come to your site, whether you know them or they're an existing customer or not, whether you've ever seen them before. We'll reach out to them, talk to them, bring them back to the site, get them on calls. You will get more calls, thus you will get more money. You should be using both. They're designed for you and we guarantee they work. They're linked below this video. And that's all I got. If you like SaaS content from someone who's actually built SaaS companies and isn't selling you courses on how to build SaaS companies, you should subscribe to this channel. Okay, bye.